Hello, dear viewers, and welcome back to the channel, your trusted source for uncovering the most intriguing and often controversial developments within the British royal family. Today, we turn our attention to a financial controversy that has once again placed the Duke of York, Prince Andrew, at the center of political and public outrage. This is a tale of immense privilege, decades-long arrangements, and a growing storm in Parliament, where powerful lawmakers are now demanding that the prince repay every single penny of rent he has effectively avoided for nearly 20 years. Before we break down the details of this extraordinary revelation surrounding the Royal Lodge, please take a moment to show your support, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the notification bell so you never miss our deep dives into royal affairs. Your engagement truly helps us continue bringing these important stories to light. For more than 2 decades, the grand 30-bedroom residence known as Royal Lodge, nestled in the heart of Windsor Great Park, has been Prince Andrew's principal home. The estate, a Grade II-listed property steeped in royal history, stands as a symbol of enduring privilege within the House of Windsor. However, recently unearthed documents have revealed the astonishingly favorable terms under which the Duke of York has occupied this mansion, sparking outrage and calls for accountability across Westminster. According to official records, the lease agreement, signed by Prince Andrew in 2003, stipulates an annual rent of just 1 peppercorn if demanded. For those unfamiliar with this archaic clause in British property law, a peppercorn rent is a purely symbolic payment, a token sum that legally upholds a contract without requiring any real financial exchange. In simple terms, this means that for over 20 years, Prince Andrew has lived virtually rent-free in one of the most valuable properties managed by the Crown Estate, with his tenancy guaranteed until the year 2028. This revelation has reignited serious questions about the Crown Estate's management practices and whether such extraordinary terms can be justified for a non-working royal who has long since withdrawn from public life. The Crown Estate, which oversees assets worth billions, is now facing mounting pressure to explain how this arrangement was approved and whether it represents a breach of public trust. The reaction in Parliament has been swift and severe. Senior figures from both the Commons Treasury Committee and the Public Accounts Committee have confirmed they are considering a formal inquiry into the matter, one that would scrutinize the lease's terms and assess whether such leniency was ever appropriate. Lawmakers have not held back in their criticism, condemning what they describe as 2 decades of unchecked privilege. Many are now calling on Prince Andrew to repay the full market value of the rent he has effectively avoided during this period, a sum that could amount to millions. The argument being made by lawmakers is straightforward yet powerful. While the lease agreement may have been legally valid, its economic impact paints a very different picture. In essence, the Crown Estate, and by extension, the British taxpayer, has effectively forfeited millions of pounds in potential revenue over the past 2 decades. To fully understand the controversy, it's essential to examine the complete financial context as revealed by documents obtained by the Times newspaper. While the annual rent stands at a purely symbolic peppercorn, the original agreement did involve an initial financial contribution from Prince Andrew. Specifically, the Duke paid £1 million up front to secure the long-term lease. More significantly, he also invested an estimated £7.5 million in extensive renovations of the historic property, works that were completed in 2005. These refurbishments, while undeniably costly, were a condition of the lease and ensured the property's preservation for future generations. However, when those initial costs are weighed against the ongoing benefit of rent-free living in one of the country's most prestigious residences for more than 2 decades, many now question whether the deal represents fair value. The agreement grants Prince Andrew and his family exclusive rights to occupy Royal Lodge for a staggering 75 years, extending well into the year 2078. In light of these revelations, members of Parliament responsible for overseeing public finances have made their position unmistakably clear. There are ample grounds for immediate investigation. This is no longer a matter of curiosity. It is a matter of public accountability. Dame Meg Hillier, the formidable chair of the Public Accounts Committee, expressed this principle with striking clarity. Speaking to reporters, she said, "Where money flows, particularly where taxpayers' money or interests are involved, Parliament has a duty to shine a light on it. Her words underscore a fundamental truth: the management of royal properties, especially those tied to public assets, cannot remain shielded by tradition or secrecy. Dame Meg went further in her comments on BBC Radio 4's Today program, emphasizing that the relevant committees need to have answers about how this arrangement was handled. Her call for transparency echoes a growing public demand to know exactly how royal finances are being managed, particularly during a period of economic strain affecting millions of British households. However, one of the strongest interventions came from Liberal Democrat Cabinet Office spokeswoman Lisa Smart, who pushed the debate beyond financial oversight into the realm of moral accountability. In an impassioned statement, Smart argued that the Duke of York should go beyond transparency and take personal responsibility. She declared, "Prince Andrew should show some contrition by returning every penny of rent he hasn't paid, while disgracing his office." This blunt assessment connects the financial privileges of the Duke directly to his disgrace and exile from royal duties, fallout from his association with Jeffrey Epstein and the subsequent legal settlement. The message is clear: having been stripped of his public role and faced with enduring public condemnation, Prince Andrew should not continue to enjoy the financial benefits reserved for working members of the royal family. The combined force of statements from Dame Meg Hillier and Lisa Smart has added substantial political momentum to the mounting pressure already surrounding Prince Andrew, a pressure that shows no signs of easing anytime soon. The focus of this growing controversy has now shifted far beyond merely reviewing the lease. The ultimate goal, according to insiders, is to compel Prince Andrew to vacate Royal Lodge entirely. Sources close to the royal household describe the 30-room mansion as the Duke of York's final remaining symbol of status, far more than a residence. It is a tangible connection to his former life as a senior working royal, and a constant reminder of his once central position within the royal establishment at Windsor. For Prince Andrew, losing Royal Lodge would not only represent a major personal and logistical upheaval, but also a final and devastating blow to his public image and self-identity. While the concept of a peppercorn rent may have long-standing roots in Crown estate agreements, its application in this case has become deeply controversial. Historically, such nominal rent arrangements were designed for royals actively serving the Crown, individuals whose public duties were considered to provide a greater benefit to the nation. However, once that key element, public service, is removed, the justification collapses. For lawmakers and much of the public, the notion of a non-working royal occupying a multi-million-pound residence virtually rent-free has become indefensible. To fully grasp the financial implications, let us revisit the key figures and the scale of the arrangement. The Duke's £7.5 million spent on renovations back in 2005 was indeed significant. Yet, in return, he was granted the right to occupy Royal Lodge for 75 years, effectively securing decades of luxury accommodation in one of Britain's most prestigious royal estates. If one were to calculate the market rental value of a 30-bedroom Grade 2 listed mansion within Windsor Great Park over the same period, the cumulative figure would vastly exceed Andrew's original investment. It is this staggering imbalance that lies at the heart of the current political outrage. The Public Accounts Committee, whose role is to ensure that taxpayer funds are used efficiently, now views the situation through the lens of public value and accountability. Their potential investigation aims to determine whether the Crown Estate, acting as a public asset manager, truly protected the taxpayer's interest when granting such an extraordinarily favorable lease to the Duke of York. Did the estate act appropriately, or did it fail in its duty to secure fair value for the nation? The mounting pressure is now multifaceted. It's not just about money, it's about symbolism, responsibility, and the future of the monarchy itself. King Charles III, who has publicly advocated for a slimmed-down, cost-conscious monarchy, is reportedly determined to project an image of transparency and modern accountability. In this light, Prince Andrew's continued occupation of an expansive mansion, under a zero-rent arrangement, stands in direct contrast to the king's vision. Though the Duke remains responsible for the maintenance and upkeep of the property, those expenses, while significant, still pale in comparison to what a commercial tenant would be expected to pay for such a prime and historic residence. The growing demand from lawmakers that Prince Andrew repay every penny of unpaid rent poses, Not only a moral question but also a potential legal and constitutional challenge. Should parliamentary committees conclude that the Crown Estate acted improperly or failed to secure proper terms, there could be calls for a retroactive reassessment of the market rent, a move that might saddle the Duke with a multi-million-pound repayment bill. Such a precedent could reverberate far beyond Royal Lodge, setting new standards for transparency and accountability in the financial management of royal properties, and placing unprecedented scrutiny on the personal privileges of the monarchy's most controversial member. This entire saga casts a sharp, and often uncomfortable spotlight on the intricate web of property ownership, historical agreements, and financial privileges that continue to shape the lives of Britain's senior royals. While the Crown Estate operates under a unique set of rules, as Dame Meg Hillier firmly noted, when taxpayer interests are involved, parliamentary scrutiny is not optional. Both the Treasury Committee and the Public Accounts Committee are now preparing to examine every aspect of the 2003 lease agreement, from the rationale behind the symbolic peppercorn rent clause to the unusually long term extending all the way to 2078. Royal Lodge itself, once the beloved country home of the Queen Mother, now stands at the very center of a growing political and financial storm for Prince Andrew. It is his final stronghold, his last visible connection to the inner circle of the monarchy. Losing it, especially under allegations of financial favoritism, would mark the ultimate public confirmation of his diminished royal standing. The coming weeks are expected to be critical. Should the committees move forward with a full investigation, the Crown Estate will be required to provide a detailed justification for the lease, a move that could potentially open Pandora's box, exposing similar agreements involving other members of the royal family. For now, all eyes remain firmly fixed on Prince Andrew, and the question of whether his 20 years of near-rent, free living at a 30-bedroom mansion can still be justified. In essence, the Duke of York faces an unprecedented demand to repay the equivalent of 2 decades' worth of rent on Royal Lodge, a property he secured through a symbolic near-cost-free lease arrangement. This call for repayment comes directly from 2 powerful parliamentary committees determined to uphold transparency and accountability in the management of public assets. The stakes could not be higher, financially for Prince Andrew, and reputationally for the Crown Estate. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this complex issue. Do you believe Prince Andrew, given his non-working royal status, should be required to reimburse the Crown Estate for the rent he avoided? Or do you think his initial payments, the £1 million lease fee and £7.5 million in renovations, already satisfy his obligations? Share your views in the comments below. Your insights drive these discussions. Thank you for watching and for joining us in this deep dive into the royal family's financial affairs. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more in-depth royal updates, and we'll see you in the next broadcast.